And I think a lot of people misunderstand. They just say, I want to own my own thing and just be an entrepreneur. And I see you doing it now. You're going from what I would say solopreneur. You've gone from solopreneur to building a business.
I figured out how to scale what was working properly for me, and I began hiring people to take on some of the tasks. And a lot of people don't hire people because they're afraid to lose the money.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that you're missing out on money by not hiring people.
Right.
The comfortableness of corporate, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to know when they're going to get paid and how it's going to come in. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want that, you need to go ahead and turn around right now.
Many people talk about jumping to entrepreneurship, but the reality is, it's not that easy. Now, some of us, we've successfully moved to entrepreneurship and owning our businesses, but for a lot of us, it's been hell and a high cost to pay. I'm just sitting here with my boy, my friend, my producer, everything in between. He's been a confidant, but most of all, he has helped me in the journey of entrepreneurship as I've watched him navigate entrepreneurship. So I want to welcome my friend, my producer, none other than entrepreneur Rod Brinson.
Hey.
Rod, man, welcome.
Happy to be here, man. Thank you
Good
for having me.
deal. I know you don't know what I'm about to say, and I'm about to get you, man. I love it. But you're always dropping gems, man. You've transitioned from corporate to being an entrepreneur. So just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm a brand strategist. I focus on helping people elevate their brand so that they can monetize it and kind of do the thing that they're kind of put here to do. And to your point, transitioning to doing this full time has been a very interesting journey, to say the least. But that's pretty much what I do. It's what I've been doing for quite a while, and I enjoy it thoroughly.
Good deal. So let's just jump right in, man. I know a little bit about your story, but everybody else may not. So help me understand how you transition, because you were first in corporate,
Yeah.
right? And not just in corporate, you really liked your job. I used to ask you like, man, how's the job? Oh man, it's good,
Yeah.
right? So how did you make that transition from corporate to being an entrepreneur?
Well, that's a great question. First and foremost, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been selling candy since middle school and, starting up all kind of businesses, photo booth. I had a music business with my partner, Keith. I can just go on and on throughout the years where I've always had like a side hustle or, made it legit with the LLC, et cetera. But it was always just an additional means of making money. It wasn't the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was your hustle.
Right. I was good with corporate. I was good with the 9 to 5, so long as the paycheck was good.
Right.
The bonuses were coming in and stuff like that. And so, I obviously having a wife and kids, I'm at a place in my life where it's like, all right, I just need to focus on retirement. I need to build up my stock and savings and take the kids on vacation, that type of thing. Corporate is the only way to do that in my head. But my business continued to grow, and it was growing at a rate where I basically was at capacity. I had to turn people away. I was lying to people at one point. No, I don't do websites anymore. What do you mean? It was that bad. And God basically was like, yeah, I got something for you over here. I need you to do this more. And I'm like, yeah, but I got this corporate thing over here, guy. So the short end of that story is that he was pulling me away from the corporate 9 to 5 job because he knew I had people to bless with the things and the skills that I had, right? And so I basically challenged God. I'm like, well, you want me to do this, I'm gonna need XYZ in terms of dollars to be able to do it by this date.
Yeah.
Right? What happens when you tell God that? So obviously he superseded that number and the time, right? Because I gave him to December. It was in January when I kind of did this. And when he superseded that number and he did it a month before my deadline, I was like, okay, God, I see you. But I still want a comfortable life. You know what I mean? I still want to do what's easy for me because I'm already making this money part-time. I might as well just stay over here. And fast forward a couple of months, man, he forced me out. I got laid off from my job for the first time in 20 years.
Man. So, but you had entrepreneurship, you had an entrepreneur mindset,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
But there's a little difference now. And I want to really jump into and highlight this difference from what I see because, yeah, just like you, man, I sold candy. I had a newspaper route. I did
Mhm.
all that other stuff back in the day when newspaper, okay, I just dated myself. All right. Back in the day, there were these things called
Paperboy.
newspapers, right? And paperboy back then meant the real newspaper
Yeah.
boy. You know what I'm
Yeah. Not the
saying?
other paperboy.
Yeah. So I had a lot of that too, and but my entrepreneur mindset I think came from others. Did you ever see other entrepreneurs?
Oh, for sure. My dad was an
Okay.
entrepreneur. He was the precipice of all of that for me.
Hmm.
He's a truck driver. I come from a family of generations of truck drivers.
Hmm.
And I saw him work his tail off, or shall I say, I didn't see him because he was working his tail off. He
Right.
would be gone for weeks at a time. And when he would come home, he was full-time father, right? Provided for us, all that good stuff. Well, we were poor
Hmm.
because at that time he wasn't making a lot of money and he wanted to do something about that. So he became an owner operator. And that's when everything changed.
Hmm.
Like I specifically remember my mom coming in the house one day. And we ain't never had no money. My mom's from Bankhead, you know what I mean? We were really Atlanta thoroughbreds. She comes in and she's like, guess what I got? I was like, I don't know, some food for me? Like, what do you have? She pulled out $10,000 in cash. And she was just like, look at this. And I was like, whoa, I mean, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I said, how did you get that? She said, well, your dad had got a new contract with his business and we ended up buying another truck and da da da. She explained it to me. And from that moment on, I already knew. I'm like, okay, so there are ways out here to get it.
Yeah.
I just, didn't want to take that route initially.
Yeah. It's funny you said that because I'm learning, of course, we've talked and I'm learning more about your story, but that's a similarity. My dad was an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
My dad, he from Mississippi, he went to, and of course, being in a farm or being raised on a farm, right? That's basically entrepreneurship, right? And
Mhm.
so, but he went to school to become a pharmacist,
Mhm.
a legal pharmacist, not the street kind, all right? And so, by the age of like 27, 30, he had, by 27, he had owned his own pharmacy,
Mhm.
and then he had a few more that he established. So I saw entrepreneurship from that side, and and this is when when my family was together. I saw he would come home and he would count money till his
Mhm.
fingers were stained with the ink from the money.
Wow.
And seeing that as a kid, I'm like, whoa, right? Money, right?
Mhm.
So it's funny because you had that entrepreneur drive, but you saw it,
Yeah.
right? And so now you, but you hit on something that I want to take you to on the mindset because you said your family bought another truck,
Mhm.
right? So you went from one to two. So now you're building what I call business,
Mhm.
right? And I think a lot of people misunderstand. They just say, I want to own my own thing and just be an entrepreneur. And I see you doing it now. You're
Mhm.
going from what I would say solopreneur. You've
Mhm.
gone from solopreneur to building a business. What's the difference between that mindset and now where you are?
Mm. Interesting. Um, so going back to when I didn't have capacity to do the work,
Hmm.
I basically asked God, like, okay, why do you have all of this money coming to me that I can't take? I definitely need the money.
Hmm.
And he was like, well, if you spend some time with me, I'll explain it to you. And I was like, all right. So I started spending more time. I started kind of reading my Bible more, praying more, kind of going to him. And what he revealed to me in that time, first of all, he gave me the idea to read this book by my girl Rashanti. It's called The Miracle Morning.
Okay.
Reading that book forced me to take advantage of all the time in my day because I used to complain, I don't have time, I don't have time. And so, what that book kind of told me to do is kind of get up earlier and spend that time to do the things you can't do with the time you don't have.
Mhm.
So, I started getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day for 90 days. And from 5 to 8, before I started my corporate job, all I did was spend time with God and strategize on how I could scale. So a lot of people want to scale. Oh, let's scale, let's scale, let's scale, right? Because people have businesses,
Right.
but you can't scale something that's broken.
Yeah.
You have to have something that is working properly before you try to scale. And so I figured out how to scale what was working properly for me. And I began hiring people to take on some of the tasks. And a lot of people don't hire people because they're afraid to lose the money.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that you're missing out on money by not hiring people.
Right. Right.
You know, I talk to my wife all the time when she wants me to do certain tasks around the house, and I'm like, I'm just hire somebody for
Yeah.
that. And she's like, well, we could save the money. Yeah, we could, but I could make more money in the time that I would spend doing that thing
Yeah.
instead of just hiring a professional to do it.
So let me ask you. So that's a great segue because I was just having the same conversation with, I forget, I think my brother, right? And we were talking about cutting the yard. And I don't know if you've ever seen people that have professional lawn services. They are so fast.
Yeah.
So fast and efficient. And have you ever tried cutting your yard? And has it ever taken you the amount of time that it takes them?
No.
It takes you all day.
Way
You got to plan all day for it. So they have some type of system, some type of ability to really be proficient in what they do. And they're able to teach others to come alongside. And what I'm hearing you say is that you had to create a system before you began to scale.
Of course.
And so it's like almost like you're saying that a lot of people try to scale before they have a system of success, right? To where you're really proficient at doing that. So what were some of those things that you started to do outside of strategizing that helped build that system?
Well, first and foremost, like I said, before I even got to the place of hiring somebody, I already had a system that worked, which is how I knew I couldn't take anybody else on. I can only give myself 100% to this thing while I have these many things to do, right? But once you add more to that, I'm splitting myself thin, right? So the first thing I did was hire somebody that can do some of the things that I could do at the same level. If you don't have a number two, if you don't have somebody that you can pull on to take on a task that you have at the same capacity that you're doing it or even close, what you're going to end up doing is still doing that task.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Whatever you're doing is working well. Make sure you have systems in place so that that can sustain when you hire somebody else. And so, whether it is, the technology that you're using, the software, whether it is, a email platform, et cetera, there are certain things that you have to be able to navigate in your business just from a standard point where you can now hire an assistant who can come in and handle those emails, or you can hire, I don't know, somebody, I would call them like an apprentice to do the same thing that you actually do in your business. I don't care if you're a baker or if you own a barbershop. You have to have the ability to have somebody to take some of the load off of you. And that's the first part of that system.
That's stewardship though.
It is, but in stewardship, what you're basically doing is delegating, especially in business.
Yeah.
Delegation matters. And a lot of people can't do that because they want their hands on it. They want to make sure it's right. And I understand that, but there's risk involved in that. And there's also a reward involved in that.
Okay, so stay right there, because now it brings to my mind one of the things that I see from people when they try to jump to entrepreneurship. I often ask people, okay, well, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And you get all kinds of answers, right? But you really like the cushiness of the corporate job, right? You wanted to do that, but have your extra money and build and stuff like that. One of the things that I hear after diving into people's why for being an entrepreneur is ultimately they don't know how to take direction, right? They're terrible at doing something that somebody else tells them to do, and they want to control everything. And so you say, so when you look at that and you look at people always wanting to have their hands in the pot and control, now it prevents you from scaling. So, have you seen that with the people that you work with? Because people come to you from an entrepreneurship standpoint, right? So have you seen people struggle in those areas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you hit on a couple things there. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. So number one, the comfortableness of corporate, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to know when they're going to get paid and how it's going to come in. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want that, you need to go ahead and turn around right now. Entrepreneurship doesn't have a timeline when it comes to when you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it may be, I don't know. Some people, it may be once a month. Some people are just trying to figure it out day to day. It varies, right? But to your point, I have clients, even myself, I've seen it periodically where they're struggling to take their hands off the pot, but they still want this growth.
Yeah.
And I might advise them to say, hey, in order to get here, here's what you have to do. But as you already know, you can only lead a horse to the water. You can't make them drink it.
Right.
And so I will sit back and watch them struggle over and over again, saying that they want one thing and they aren't doing the thing necessary to get it. Here's the reason why, and I just want to point this out. You talked about working in corporate and having that comfortability and not being able to take direction or not wanting to take direction from somebody. I would beg to differ. I think it's a lack of discipline in their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they don't want to take direction or they don't take direction well. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want anybody overlooking them. They don't want anybody telling them what to do. And I always say, I think you're going to find a hard time being a leader if you're not willing to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about hiring somebody, they're not going to stay with you long if you don't know how to lead.
Right.
And you can't know how to properly lead if you're not willing to submit to somebody's authority.
Yeah. Yeah. So you lost your job. You got forced into entrepreneurship, right? So,
well, it was still a choice.
Okay. Well, because you could have gone to look for another one.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I saw the note come through, my mind went into warp slope speed, and I really pondered on what my next move would be, even though I knew what it was supposed to be. And I could have went and got another job.
Yeah.
I had to make the choice to do this full time.
All right. So now you down my street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You about to kick my butt all the way down the street. All right. Let me take you back.
All right.
2020. Picture it. COVID. All right. I had gone to a job. I went to a new company. I started with them February 6th, 2020. COVID hit March 2020. Now, I was in a high-paying career, and when I lost that job, I had my son in June of 2020. Now, choices. It's like, dang, what do I do? Right? I know what I wanted to do. I wanted another job. I just was having a son.
Okay.
But it was COVID. Nobody was hiring anybody that did what I did for the money that I was making at that time. So I made the choice, well, let me do what I'm doing for everybody else and do it for myself. Jumped into entrepreneurship. Ooh-wee. I had hell to pay in my house, right, for that.
Yeah.
How did your choice affect your home?
That's a great question. Number one, I don't make choices without my wife's thought process. And when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, do I get American cheese or cheddar?
Right.
I mean major choices. Yeah. I think it would just, that makes no sense to me. You are one with your wife or your husband. Make choices with them. So I always bring things to her. Obviously, I take it to God first, and then I take it to her. And so I presented it from a point of view of, this is what I would like to do. And here's why I think it'll work. Do I have your support in that? Now, a lot of people will do that and then have an expectation of what that response is going to be.
Yeah.
You can't be frustrated if they're not on board. They don't see the vision. They don't have the experience that you have. Maybe they have an opposite experience from their childhood where their parent tried entrepreneurship and it didn't work. So now they're fearful that this won't work. I mean, so many different variables there.
Right.
But that is the first step. Bring it to your spouse. If you're not married, talk to somebody that cares about you, that wants you to succeed, that you trust, etc. Right? You have to go to wise counsel. Right. But when I brought it to her, man, I ain't gonna lie, like, she had my back 1,000%. And if it weren't for her being so confident in my ability to make this happen, I would not be an entrepreneur today.
Wow.
She immediately was like, do it. I mean, it wasn't even a hesitation. And that's because of the track record that I had already kind of set.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So like if you're out there and you're wondering like, will my spouse support me the same way? Or my spouse didn't support me, like, well, what are you doing or what have you done that showed that you deserve that kind of support?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. She supported me 1,000%. And there are other situations where she didn't support and I didn't make that move.
Hmm.
Because if we're not moving together, then I'm not moving.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a tougher time. And, I love the way you put that in regards to bringing it to them, right? Because in that moment, like you and I, we both had choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
My initial choice was I want to go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And, the circumstances was like, you can't find one. So you better bring in some income, right? I started practicing my magic mic moves and
Yeah.
everything, man. I was like, hey, I can go strip,
Right, right.
but when you say bring that to your spouse and really talk about that, it's really important because as an entrepreneur, have there been moments where you said, I don't know about this. I think I might go get a job anyway. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
for sure, for sure.
And what is that like, right?
Well, this is my first time doing full-time entrepreneurship. I've always had a 9 to 5, so to speak. We're talking 20 plus years. And I was always doing entrepreneurship during that time as well. It was always part-time. So I was under the impression that things would be smooth sailing
Mhm.
because things have always been smooth sailing from my point of view with entrepreneurship because it was never
The main thing.
the main
Yeah.
thing. It was
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
oh, that customer walked away.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Now it's, oh my God, that customer walked away.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would say at some point in your entrepreneur journey, you're gonna run into some walls.
Mhm.
You're gonna face some difficulties. You're gonna, struggle to make payroll once you start hiring people. Like that is a constant thing. Like there are multi-million-dollar corporations out here who are struggling to make payroll, which is why some of these cuts happen.
Mhm.
Right. So it's no different from a mom and pop. The reality is the ones who make it push through that wall.
Yeah.
The ones who succeed and are able to sustain a career in entrepreneurship, they have longevity because they have situations that have propelled them through that and they stuck with it. They didn't give up.
Mhm.
They always have little memes and stuff up where it's like a person digging in a tunnel trying to find a diamond and then he like gives up, but the person above him keeps going and finds that. So you could be that close and then you run into a little adversity and you give up. I was close
Mhm.
to your point. Like I remember it was probably like 6 months after I got laid off. I'm full time. I'm grinding, doing this thing. One day I was having a day and I was like, man, I need to go get a job.
Yeah.
Like this ain't working out. I don't like you're gonna have that feeling. So I applied for a job.
Mhm.
As soon as I hit submit, man, I felt sick to my stomach.
Man.
I mean, I was literally sick because I knew that that's not what God had for me.
Yeah.
It's a difference when you just want to do something. It's a whole nother ball game when God has called you to do something
Mhm.
and you're going against that system.
So let's stop right there. So you believe God has called you to do what you're doing now,
Yes,
and you believe that He called you to do it prior to.
correct.
Okay, but prior to you was like, nah,
Yep.
I'm good, God.
Yeah.
I'll just dibble and dabble,
Hmm.
right? So, um, so along the way, and I know the answer to this question, right?
Hmm.
Compare what you saw God calling you to then compared to what you see
Oh,
now.
it's silly. It's man. First of all, he was providing evidence for me. People call it a faith journey or a leap of faith.
Hmm.
Yeah, you do have to have some belief in him and his ability to make things happen for you, but also in yourself, right? So it's not just a faith journey from a religious standpoint. It's a faith journey in you being able to believe in you, right? If you don't have that, the work that you're doing is going to be difficult.
Hmm.
And you're going to find yourself crumbling after some time because you don't truly believe in the thing that you're doing anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So what he was showing me before was like, okay, you can do this. You have the skill set and you're helping people, right? It's not just about what you're getting, it's about what you're giving. And so I had the evidence, cool. But stepping into it, whenever I get close, I mean, like, oh my God, this bill coming due. I don't know how I was
Mhm.
gonna pay it, All of a sudden, I mean, it will literally just be something just fall in my lap. Hey man, I was trying to get a website. I heard you do websites. I only got $5,000. Does that work?
Yep. That's
Yeah.
exactly how much it costs.
Well, I have my prices right, but I
Yeah.
always kind of like to look at the situation before
Yeah.
I go give them, right?
Right.
Because you never know what you're gonna get into. I've learned the hard way.
We're gonna talk about that too.
Learn the hard way. But my point is, it's like manna from heaven.
Hmm.
How we gonna eat? We are here in the wilderness. I don't understand. Well, he's gonna provide you food. Oh, well, we're tired of eating this bread.
Hmm.
We want some meat. What did he do? He sent the wind and
Hmm.
brought, I don't know what kind of
Quail.
bird. I was about to say it was quail.
Hmm.
Brought some birds and gave them some meat.
Read your Bibles.
And they were still complaining. So we gotta be careful not to forget who our source
Mhm.
is versus the resources, right? And B, once we get the resources, we can't deem it something that we've done
Yeah.
ourselves. The clients that I've connected with, the experiences that I've had, the lives I'm able to change with the work that I'm doing, even doing this podcast, this is God's work.
Mm.
This is not my work. I didn't do anything to tell you to come to me to help you produce this podcast.
Right.
I was just minding my own business. And God put me in your life for that reason. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like that with all of my clients, every single one of them. And the reality is when you focus on doing things that he has you doing and you're willing to let go of some, what did it say? The man who's willing to lose his life shall
Hmm.
save it, and the
Hmm.
man who's willing to save his life shall lose it. I'm
Yep.
paraphrasing, but when you're willing to let go of some things that you love that you shouldn't be loving on anyway, and grab on to some things that he wants you to do, he's gonna take care of it.
So these are not like specific entrepreneurship lessons. These are life lessons that you apply to entrepreneurship.
Period.
And sometimes we look for a specific, tell me ABC what to do so I can make $1 million, my first million or whatever. And it's like, get your life right, man.
Right.
Get your focus right first,
Right.
because then that other stuff will come. Now God can bring you the connects and the opportunities to where you won't trick it off.
Mm,
So it's like you dropping gems, but it's like it's just regular life stuff,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
But that's the thing. Like I think too often, um, you know, people want a new brand made, but they don't want to be made brand new.
Yeah, man.
They don't want to do the work.
Message.
They everything starts with you.
Yeah.
And if you do something in a way that fixes you before you present it, and I don't mean like perfection, right?
Hmm.
It's just about willing to look in the mirror and say, I got to clean up my act.
Yeah.
I always tell people building a brand is not building a business alone. It's the people behind the business.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, when people in venture funds and stuff like that go on and people want to get like certain rounds to raise millions to do this software or whatever it is, one of the main things they look at is the founder.
Yep.
Who is this person?
Hmm.
What kind of life do they have? Same thing with a person going to be a pastor at a church.
Yep.
Are you married? You got kids? How you treating your wife?
Yep.
Who are you?
Yep.
People want to know who you are because once they know that they can trust the integrity, the character, that type of thing, then they're willing to break bread with you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the opposite way around. Now, I will say some people will find some success with that. I followed this person's motto and I built my business and I'm rich.
Hmm.
That may be the case. That is not everybody's story.
Right.
And even with some of those cases, which is why we find stories of people being billionaires and being unfulfilled and being sad and depressed, if you're not doing the thing you should be doing, it don't matter how much money you got.
Yeah.
You're going to be cracking inside.
You started talking about your character and things like that. I know both of us feel that that's really, really, really important with who we do business with. Help me understand how you view partnerships, because you've talked about your one partner being your wife, right? You always bring stuff to your wife. But when we were talking about building a business and scaling and things like that, I think partnerships are important, because I know that there are things that we do and you have the skills to do, but it's like, do you want to invest in that, or do we want to bring along somebody that specializes in that and build partnerships? So help me understand your view on partnerships and what you look for.
Yeah, that's good. So first and foremost, the person that you are matters.
Hmm.
No matter how much skill set you have, if we can't get along as people, if I don't want you in my house, it's a problem. But beyond that, your skill set is probably the second most important thing. Can you do this job and can you do it well? Whatever it might be. I don't care if we're cousins or friends or not. If you can't do this job well, hey, we can hang out at the barbecue, but
Right, right.
we got a job to perform. And then thirdly, I would say, once we have those two things in place, it's really about what makes the most sense for the situation. I'm not the type of person where, well, oh, you hired me to do this, I got to be the one to do it. No. What's going to get the job done the best?
Hmm.
And can we afford to do it?
Right.
Those two things matter, right? And so I consider all of that with partnership. I consider that with people that I bring in to do different jobs for other clients. I consider that with vendors. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to consider what makes the most sense for the target, for the deliverable, the
Yeah.
goal, the thing that you're trying to achieve. And once you think about it from that point and you strategize around that, now you take all of that to God and go, all right, God, what you think about this person?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go. I said we were going to talk about this. When to say no.
Mm.
Like every customer ain't your customer.
Yeah.
Every person that's talking about partnership ain't your partner.
Yeah.
Right. So when do you say no? I'm so thankful you said yeah to me, man. Oh man, bless your heart,
No,
man.
hey,
Thank you,
it
God.
worked. It was what it was supposed to be. That's a great point. I say no in varying ways. I think it depends. And money is never an issue with that. Money is the last thing I think about. I know millionaires who want to hire me to do certain things,
Mhm.
but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell myself short by taking this thing that I think is going to bless me. Right. So that's the first thing. I would say if it doesn't align with your purpose,
Mhm.
then you need to reconsider it. Like I wanted to get certain, like, I guess, fractional marketing jobs since I've been a full-time entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And every time I look at one, I go, does this take away from my business or does this add to my business? Well, this is my purpose. So if it doesn't add to this, then I can't take it. I
Mhm.
don't care what the money looks like,
Yeah.
right? But then beyond that, I think it's a feeling. If I feel like I can help this person get further along, then I'll work with them in some capacity, one way or another.
Mhm.
Period. As long as it's not, again, taken away from what I'm building over here.
Yeah.
So that was a big factor with you and I. It was like when you brought it up, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I know I can help him. Have I ever produced a podcast before? No, but I know how to do it,
Mhm.
and I know I can make it happen. And then in the process of making it happen, we ran into our second partner in this process. And look, Gerald has been amazing.
Yeah.
You already know, like
Yeah.
his stuff is top notch. He's professional. He comes through, and guess what? He's a person we can kick it with, and he can come to the house and
Yeah.
the barbecue as well. So, like I said, all of those things are in place. And instead of just saying, you know what, he hired me to do this, I'm gonna do this. I said this will be a good addition to what we have.
Mhm.
Chris, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Right?
And one of the things I've learned, and you guys have really helped me in this position, is true leadership.
Mm.
Right. I've learned more about leadership doing this podcast because one, I might come up with an idea and most of my ideas suck. Right.
That's not true.
Y'all be like, what you, man, go sit over there, man. but no, I recognize that you guys have your specific things that you do, and I listen intently, and you tell me to do something, I'm like, okay. You tell me to jump, okay, because you are better at jumping, right?
Right.
And I say this to say that I've learned to submit to the authority that I've established. And that's what a lot of people, I want them to understand, is like, take your hands off of it. Leverage partnership,
Yeah.
people that are of like mind and value, and submit to the authority that you establish. Even if there's exchange in dollars and cents, right? You are hiring somebody to do a job, and let them do what God has put them here to do.
Yeah.
And I think we have a much better experience because I'm just like, all right, what you want me to do? How you want me to sit? What you want me to say?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, y'all know I'm gonna say something just off the top of my head. It's gonna be crazy. Okay, y'all let me do that, right?
Yeah.
And we just let everybody just be who themselves, but be in their strengths and encourage that.
Yeah,
all right. So
that's good.
so I that's one lesson that I've learned is submit to the authority that you establish.
I'm gonna flip that on its head though, because the other side of that is the person in my position who might be afraid to lose the contract if they say something, or if they said no to the, or
Right.
nah, man, we should do it this way. I gotta laugh at all his jokes. Ha ha ha.
You don't never laugh at my jokes, man.
I've been laughing this whole
You
time.
know,
Whatever.
we over here, me and Jerry be crying. You be like,
I'm focused, okay? Look, I don't cry that often. You're gonna have to do some more work to get me to cry. But no, we have to be willing to do the job we were hired to do,
yeah,
regardless of what we feel might be the repercussions from telling the truth.
yeah,
Right? I've been in rooms where potential clients, they're not even signed with me yet. We talking, and I'm just sitting there like, no, we shouldn't do that. And everybody in the room looks at me like, I can't believe he just said that to her.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, that's why she hired me or is going to hire me or whatever the case may be. My job is not to be here and agree with you. My job is to be here to get the job done at the best possible rate
yeah,
or in the best possible way. And so I was never afraid to tell you no or to tell you, no, man, we should pivot this way.
mhm.
And thankfully, you've been open to that direction and allowing me to be who you hired me to be.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's some good stuff. So, all right, so now we in this entrepreneurship journey, and I feel like I'm taking the journey with you as I'm sort of becoming one myself in this. And but you talked about purpose,
Mm.
and a lot of times we talk about purpose and your business, and this is your purpose, it's your call. Help me understand how you bring what you do to be about purpose, because a lot of people, they just name their business something like holy hands or God's weave,
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah,
something like that, right? How do you really focus and say this is my purpose and this one? How are you doing purpose in what you do?
yeah. Great question. I think that the first thing you have to do is in finding out what your purpose is look at it from a point of view of, is this blessing me or is this blessing other people? Like, building people's brands is great. It's fun. I don't mind doing it. It's not my number one choice.
Mhm.
My number one choice is to be a film director. I want to work in Hollywood and write movies, and I could do that without getting paid.
Mhm.
Does that mean building people's brands is not benefiting me? Of course it is. But it's more for them than it is for me.
Mm.
I'm fulfilling other people's dreams. I'm blessing other people through the work that I'm doing. That's
Mhm.
how I know it's on purpose, because I didn't choose this.
Right.
God chose this.
Mhm.
I just happen to listen and follow it, right? The second thing I would say is um, some people might be stuck in a job that's not the thing that they really want to do, right? But they gotta pay the bills, they got responsibilities,
Right.
whatever the case may be. I know a lot of people in this position. That might be the fuel for you to do the thing that is your purpose.
Mhm.
And just because you don't have all the fuzzy feelings about something doesn't mean it's not your purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a thing that you don't necessarily have a lot of fuzzy feelings about, but it's something you're good at and it's something that's going to really do a lot for other people.
Mhm.
All right. So I was told something at my last corporate job. I went on a trip to Chicago for an executive sponsorship meeting. It was like 15 of us. We were in a room talking to our executive sponsor in that particular department. And I knew what we had to talk about going into this room. It was our career trajectory and what we wanted to do. And, I'm wrestling in my hotel room. I'm like, I don't want to tell this man the truth.
Yeah.
You know how
Yeah.
we got to do, man.
Yeah.
I was born to work here.
Right,
I would
right,
love to.
right.
Like, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sell myself short. But I also didn't want to like completely just lie or whatever the case may be. So I balanced back and forth, and I finally landed on, I'm gonna tell him a partial truth.
Mhm.
Like, and so what I told him was I wanted to work in the marketing department for that particular job. That was my career trajectory. That was a part of it, but like I said, I really want to do film.
Right.
And so when I told him that, what he said to me still resonates to this day. He said, why would you wait to get the role? Why don't you start doing some of those things now in your current role? And I mean, it was just mesmerizing because I'm like, okay, I can do my presentations with my marketing genius. I can add video. I can, I started working through all of the skill sets that I have. I built my own little website. I was able to do things for that role
Yeah.
in my current role that
Yeah.
had nothing to do with one or the other.
Yeah.
And what happened was people began to see me in that light. And so I ended up on the creative director's radar.
Mm-hmm.
We started connecting, and then I got laid off. 6 months later, same creative director says, I see the stuff you're doing. We want to hire your company to do some stuff.
So now, as an entrepreneur, you're now a vendor to the company
Right.
that laid you off,
Right.
but now under different terms.
Right. But
Man.
that only happened because of that conversation and me beginning to plant those seeds and be who I naturally was in the environment that I didn't want to be in.
Let's package that up. All right, let's put a bow on it.
Okay.
And when we package it up, we're going to say, okay, let's take the little lessons out of that, right?
Mhm.
So, as you said, I've heard that story. And I'm so glad you talked about this story.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about it anyway. But you were okay with being you. You said, I'm not going to sell myself short, first
Yep.
off. So,
Mhm.
I'm going to be open about, what I want to do.
Right.
One. Then what I hear you say is even though you were in a position, you liked that company,
Mhm.
right? But some people may not like the company, may not like the manager or whatever, but you found areas in your current role where you can start perfecting the skills of where you wanted to be.
Right.
So you do it now. Start now,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So, all right, be yourself, start now, right?
Mhm.
So then when you got laid off, right, you already had that momentum. So I would say keep the momentum. What else would you say, would you add? How would you?
I would phrase that as be patient because
Okay.
even with the momentum, like I said, it took 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I was reaching out to her day one.
Ah.
Hey, I know
Yeah.
you gotta silence.
Yeah.
And then when she finally did respond, it was like, oh, okay, I'm busy doing some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I took it personally initially.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal. Be patient because these deals and things take time and people are busy.
Mm-hmm.
Your problems don't automatically become their priority,
Yeah.
right? I think we laid off like 600 people at that time.
Mm.
She was probably getting hit up by other people too.
Right.
And she got her own journey. So anyway, in being patient, because initially the flesh in me wanted to write her off. Oh man, that ain't fair. Why don't you go into your humanness.
Right.
But I pulled back and I said, you know what? This is a great connection. Regardless if she does something for me,
Mm-hmm.
I would be a fool to look at her sideways because it didn't work out when I wanted, how I wanted.
Yeah.
So I kept the relationship open and then I was rewarded for it later. So I would say be patient in that momentum build.
Man. And in between there, don't burn bridges.
Don't burn bridges. You never know when you need to cross them again.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, I'll never cross that bridge. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, man.
I got some managers in my previous corporate life that did me so wrong, but I still kept that bridge
Mm-hmm.
because you never know. I might
Yeah.
cross that bridge. I might apply for a job 10 years from now. God willing, I won't. And one of those
The
managers
devil
might be
is
the
a
hire,
lie.
right. One of those managers might be the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Now I've burnt that relationship. Now what's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's a no.
Yeah. Let's rephrase that.
Mm-hmm.
They may be looking for a job later on and may come to you and they did you
Okay.
dirty. You know what I'm saying? Let's rephrase that one. All right.
That happens
I
too.
receive it.
All right,
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on to that for sure. That is exactly how it's gonna go. Because I ain't applying for no job 10 years
Oh
from now.
man, it's but that story in of itself is a powerful story. And I remember when you was sort of low key when it happened,
Mhm.
right? I was like, no, man, we gonna celebrate, man. Let's, no, that's great. Tell it, But that's powerful, man, the patience, right? So in your entrepreneur journey, what has been the toughest challenge that you've had to overcome?
Myself.
Mm,
I think too often people they think about the revenue,
Mm-hmm.
the offer that they have, the service they're going to provide, the product, the website. I can go on and on and on and on and on. And all of those things are absolutely challenging. But they're even more challenging if you're not tackling yourself.
Yeah.
Having to let go of pride, having to keep patience a priority when I talk with my family,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're affected too. My kids want to go on vacation. We ain't gonna be able to do that today,
Mm-hmm.
right? Does it make sense for me to be frustrated with work, to go upstairs into that environment and then take that out on them? Absolutely not. So I've had to work on me to be able to stay grounded in the process so that when those waves come in, I can still stand strong.
Mm-hmm.
That is the utmost. I know it sounds simple and basic, but if you're in an entrepreneur journey, work on yourself. That doesn't just mean like go to the gym and work out, which you should,
Yeah.
but you've been on me about.
Man,
I've been working out.
I'll be on you, man.
I've been-
Let's go for a walk, man.
I've been working out. I'm on it, right? Your health matters. Understanding your accounting,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your profit and loss statements, your cash flow, all of that stuff matters for business, right? If you don't know those terms, you need to look them up
Mm-hmm.
because they matter. But more importantly is your mental health, your spiritual life, what you're doing with yourself, because yourself is going to want to rise up and do things that are not lined up with what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And if you can keep that piece intact, everything else will begin to make sense around you.
Man, that's big. I've often said in the heat of battle or competition, when I played basketball, my toughest competitor I've ever played against was myself.
Mm.
I remember a coach asking me, who's the toughest person you ever played against? It's like me.
Mm.
And I played against some guys that definitely, they're Hall of Fame in the
Okay.
NBA now,
Okay.
right? But even still, me.
Yeah.
Because at that moment, I had to get over all the other noise,
Mhm.
man, and had to really let myself know that, all right, I can do this,
Mhm.
right? I can play my role. I can do what I need to do. I can steal this ball. I can do whatever. And I can get this client, I can navigate this relationship. I can, I can create this plan. I can do this,
Mm.
right? So the toughest person I've ever gone against
Is
has
you.
been me.
Yeah, that's twofold, because on the one half of that, you're gonna self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Tell yourself all type of lies.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you have to figure out how to make sure your belief system is intact,
Yeah.
because you will believe stuff that ain't even true about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other flip side of that is the pridefulness, the arrogance, the high and mighty. You can get so high in your confidence or the things that you do that you forget where you came from.
Yeah.
Or you forget that you wouldn't have all of this if it wasn't for God anyway. You know what I mean? It's so many different layers to that. So it's both sides. So the even kill of that is keeping self under control. That's why they call it self-control.
Right.
Right. And so by doing that, what you end up doing is putting yourself in a better position no matter what room you walk in.
Man.
So that's why I say it's important to build your brand beginning with you, because you are your brand.
Man, we'll drop the mic on that one. We're going to drop the mic on that one. Say that again, man.
I said it's important to build your brand beginning with you, because you are your brand.
Perfect, man. Now look in the camera, do that. All right.
Look, man, y'all go check me out, robbrinson.com. I ain't even got to wait on him to do the drop. I know what's finna happen. Everything is there. I'll see y'all later.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
All right. My last one.
Shoot.
All right. How does it feel to be a light-skinned dude when light-skinned brothers are out of style?
First of all, number one, we've always been in style. All right. That's why y'all say that, because we always been in style. Nah, man, look, we cutting out the division. We all one We all together. I love every tone in the hue of black.
Man, you my man. I love you, man, for real. I know, man, you have been such an inspiration to me
Thank you,
in
man.
like the toughest moments. Man, you've tried to teach me poker. You've tried to teach me all kinds of stuff, man. I'm trying to teach you golf. Yeah,
Hey, let's do it.
But no, man, I appreciate you, man. You've dropped some gems, man. I love it. You're constantly helping me with my brand and just helping me be okay with just who I am and every aspect of that, all the different layers. And so, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know that you can bless so many people, and I'm so excited to be along for the ride. So for y'all that's checking us out, continue to check us out on the When All Hell Breaks Loose podcast. I am Chris King. I've been here with my buddy, my friend, producer, partner, Rod Brinson. And so he has also dropped some gems on entrepreneurship, on how to make that transition from corporate to an entrepreneur, but also to really building business and building yourself and blessing others in the process. So I'm just so thankful for our time today. Go out, check us out, like, subscribe. Don't forget to share. Share it with others. Tell it to your friends, your neighbors, even your enemies, but share it with love, because we are here just helping everybody succeed during life's toughest challenges here on the When All Hell Breaks Loose podcast. Now, I want to tell you, go out, partner with us, go out to our website, whenallhellbreaksloosepodcast.com. Check us out for sponsorships, partner with us. If you want to get your business shout out, we are taking partnerships, sponsorships, and hey, there is a minimum. No maximum. You can give as much as you want, but you also get discounts on some of the live events and all of the mini activities that we have planned. It is going to be a great rest of the season and going, therefore, in the future, having great events. Go out there, whenallhellbreaksloosepodcast.com. Like, subscribe, sponsor, partner, all of the like. I'm your boy, Chris King. I love you. Y'all be blessed.